Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of FireDEV, a fireside chat with people in the industry. Today, my guest is Tom Vazdar. Tom, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
No problem, no problem. I appreciate you coming on. So, Tom, you're into the world of AI and previously in cybersecurity. Before we talk about AI, do you want to introduce yourself and what you've been doing in cybersecurity over the years?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity. So, my name is Tom, and I've been in cybersecurity for the past 20 years. And actually, I'm still in cybersecurity, and AI is just a logical extension to me to the new world of artificial intelligence. So, I started back in 2003 when I got certified as a CISSP and then changed different roles as a head of IT in manufacturing industry. Then I moved into consulting for one of the big four companies. Then I served as a chief security officer for the major Central European bank. And then I decided to start my own consulting business. I got into AI a couple of years ago, and this was actually quite interesting to me because the principles of AI are basically the same as in cybersecurity. So I saw the opportunity actually how to continue with AI and use my experience in cybersecurity, which is really, really cool now. And there is so much opportunity now in the future in this area. So this is shortly about me. I have my own consulting business now and private practice. I work with a couple of people, serving clients, and actually more happier than ever now.
Okay, that's good. And so you said that cybersecurity and AI, they're very similar in terms of like the work and what you're doing. I guess the principles. From somebody on the outside they might not be able to see that connection. So do you want to touch on that? How when you went from doing cybersecurity for many years, now obviously AI is a big thing. You're
Mhm.
in AI, and like all the similarities and whatever few differences are as well. 'Cause I'm sure there's some differences.
Oh, well, there are differences, but let's go a little bit more in the past. Actually, I'm 54 years old now, and I started with computers back in the mid 80s when my father bought Commodore 64, and a couple of friends had Sinclair ZX Spectrum. And this is actually when I started learning about computers, about coding, about everything. And now, in the age of AI, I see many similarities now if you look in the past, in the mid 80s. In 1982, Sir Clive Sinclair he released the ZX Spectrum, and then there was Commodore 64 competing with Spectrum, and many kids, as me at that time, started actually learning the basics of computing and the basics of coding and everything. So what is interesting here is that we all started with some prompting. And then there was also the rise of personal computers at that time, and the only way to interact with computers was by entering commands. You had to write a line of code to get something out. The first code that I wrote was like print hello, and then it was like hello on the screen. Then make it flashy. So it was like really programming in BASIC. Then I started actually working with applications like monitoring programs, which was also interesting, which was some sort of like hexadecimal code, which was also interesting. But the thing is, the Apple developed at that time something called Windows, and then the Microsoft had Windows, and this is where I see now we are now with the AI. Um, so the way we interact with Chat GPT is we are entering prompts, and with other language models the same way. But the future is actually that AI will go backwards. So, meaning backwards, we'll go on the application layer, and we will be actually working with AI as a basic workflows, basic processes, which is something that will be more familiar and easier for people. Not everybody needs to be the language modeler and then machine learning engineer, whatever. Um, so this is actually definitely the future. So similarities with the cybersecurity, there are many. I started implementing AI in cybersecurity back in like 9, 10 years ago, something like that. And this was by acquiring different solutions in cybersecurity, like for deep network monitoring. We acquired at a bank, we acquired different solutions that would just monitor something that people couldn't do. Then for security operations center, first level of support, this is something that we actually employed to do the initial analysis and make it easier for people. I mean, there are other practical uses where we can use AI in cybersecurity. I have personally won two different hackathons also in AI by working on cybersecurity solutions. Um, I don't know. We can discuss this a little bit more detail, but this is just a little background how I see actually similarities. With the rise of microcomputers and personal computing in the mid '80s, and where we are now. Fast forward 30 years forward, 40 years forward. Jeez, time flies.
It
So
does.
yeah, I'm
So obviously,
overwhelmed with everything. Yeah.
yeah, I know what you mean. There's always new, updates and something new, coming out, and some new, developments. It can be hard to keep track of, and it can be hard to, filter through the noise of what you need to keep track of, of, because there's some things you don't need to know about, or it's not that important. But then there's obviously other things, developments, and some of those developments might not make the news as much. Like that's the other issue, because it's not just a matter of the most popular things you keep track of, and then you just work your way down. Sometimes the developments you don't, the main news outlets won't even talk about. So like how do you handle that, especially like, being in AI, where there's developments every day, there's new things happening all the time, whether it's on the actual technical level, whether it's with the companies and organizations themselves, like everything that was happening with Samo, with OpenAI and everything over there. Like it just seems so up and down. Like one day I would look and it was this CEO, next day I would look it was this. And I was like, it felt like that. Even though this was on a company level, the AI sort of fast pace went into the company itself, not just on the technical side. So how do you keep up with all the changes and everything that's going on?
Well, you see, when we talk about AI and cybersecurity, to implement cybersecurity, the best approach would be, and I'll show you the similarities here. The best approach would be to go according to the international standard ISO 27000 and 27000 series. And now, for to implement artificial intelligence management system in a company, there is international standard ISO 42000 series, which is basically employing the same principles as 27000 series. And there are a few differences, but principles are the same. You need to do the AI risk management. You need to have your procedures and policies, documentation, everything how to run AI. And this is actually the beauty here, because if you have the background in cybersecurity, it will be fairly easy actually for you to implement artificial intelligence in a company. It's not easy just acquire different tools. You need to actually understand, what are the risks that you're dealing with if you want to employ AI. And I know that many institutions, they struggled for many years how to implement cloud, and now, when cloud is out there, it's actually much easier now to implement also AI. But AI itself, it has also its own threats. And when we talk about these threats, there's something that's called like data poisoning, because somebody can actually when hackers penetrate your system, they can change the logic. They can make systems provide wrong information. I mean, we're all talking about some future threats. There are indications that some things like that already exist, but we're talking here about the future, because the part of the risk management is also to predict what are the potential risks in the future. Then, when we talk about, I don't know, but everybody is familiar with phishing. With the rise of AI, this is AI is enhancing the phishing. And as much as we try on the let's say on the business, on the good side, to employ AI for our own purposes, criminals are doing the same on their side. They're also using AI to make their work easier and more difficult for people who are on the defensive side. So basically, when we talk about phishing, the phishing can be enhanced with generative AI to make it more sophisticated, to make it more convincing. I know there was lots of discussion in the media now about the deep fakes. because with the use of AI generated, either voice or video, we can make phishing and business email compromise attacks more believable. And there is an example of the recent attack, like, I don't know, February of this year, something like this, when the hackers used deepfake to steal like $25 million, I believe, from Singapore, from one of the banks, just by, there were like four people, virtual people, pretending to be colleagues. Everybody was deepfake, and they convinced the employee actually to release the money, and it was something suspicious to him. So he checked in the morning, and turned out there was no meeting like that. So everybody was fake. Then, when we talk also about AI, threats of AI, that there is disinformation. And this is especially important for this year, because like two-thirds, the statistic is that the two-thirds of the world population is going to elections this year. And we know that AI is being used to create and spread false information. Then there are also like internal threats, where people misuse and abuse internal generative AI applications. And also, when we talk about internal threats, the biggest threat for companies is now, many companies, they have banned the use of AI, because right now they have no knowledge how to implement the AI management system. They have no procedures, no guidance, they have nothing. And we know that people personally use AI, like ChatGPT, so they actually enter the company corporate information into ChatGPT just to get something out. And this is actually internal. This is called shadow AI, where it's used the way it's not supposed to be used, and lots of business information is leaking this way. So, as I said, also for attackers, there is it can be a tool for both businesses and for attackers to enhance their capabilities, and also for defenders to bolster their security measures. So there is a big need also for industry now to use AI in cybersecurity and address all these threats. And this can be done in different ways, by implementing advanced security measures to protect AI systems. What is also important is ethics in AI, where we have to prioritize the ethical creation and use of AI models. There is also collaborative defense effort, where companies need to share intelligence, and there are also strategies across organizations to combat threats. And there is the role also of different advisory boards. I served for like 8 years on the advisory board of Europol EC3 for financial crime, which is also one of the ways how you share information about all these threats. But there are many industry boards where companies share information. So this is the only way how you can learn. Um, Another way how we can use AI in security, in cybersecurity, just to use it to detect and then to counteract malicious activities and vulnerabilities. There are solutions in the market for a couple of years already that are utilizing AI for purpose like that. So these are some of the examples, how what are the threats, and how the industry can address these threats. So there are many different uses, and I'm really excited about what the future will bring, because this is the speed that technology is changing is just amazing. Something that will happen before, like within a year, and now we get like within a month all the news, and it's really hard to follow all the information, all the developments. And really, as I said before, I'm really overwhelmed with information, and I need to find for myself some different way how to stay informed with everything, because there is so much information. There are like thousands of new research reports each week, which is impossible to follow. So definitely, we are now in the new industrial revolution with AI. So I hope I provided some answer to your question.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. So the first thing you were talking about poisoning data. How does that actually work? Like, can you give some examples of how a hacker might actually do that, and then how can let's say a company or a user try and prevent that, or be in a position where they know if the data is being poisoned?
hmm So this is actually a very good question, and this is something that many researchers are dealing with. So basically, data poisoning is when you are changing the data sets of the AI model. Um, that to train an AI model within an organization, you will have to have data sets with the proprietary corporate information. So something that would be like defining like business secrets of a company. And we can do show. I can maybe explain a little bit more on a model of like a chatbot for a company, because the first practical use of AI within corporations was to implement different chatbots for customer service. So, and everything, for customer service to work, they need to have some knowledge base, and this knowledge base is being put in a data set. And this data set is something, if the attacker would change the data set, they would change the information given to customers, then you're actually poisoning all this data and changing the information, and you can make the system biased, to provide false information to your clients. And this is how the companies would incur actually reputational damage and even financial damage. One of the really bad implementations was in Canada recently. Recently, everything is like within a few months back, when the airline, I don't know which one, but one of the airline companies, the chatbot started offering discounts and free tickets to clients, and which is really interesting because nobody poisoned the system, but the system wasn't really trained well, and they didn't have any protective measures there. So it was just plain vanilla AI taught with a couple of things from a company, but nobody actually trained the system to way to log the information. So the company was actually, they lost at the court. They had to actually provide to give everybody what the chatbot promised. So only because the data it wasn't really poisoned here, it wasn't trained well, but the similar ways how data would get poisoned. You just put there tons of wrong information, and you actually get wrong results from your AI.
Okay. And where do you think this goes in the future? Because obviously, this is a single case that you're mentioning where the chatbot offered promotions when it shouldn't have, based on the company's, I guess, policy. Legally they had to honor it. Obviously, when somebody's implementing chatbots, especially big organizations, what can they do to try and prevent something like that happening? And then what's in law and on the legal side to be able to say, okay, we can offer this or that, but there's certain restrictions. It's like, if you go to the store and return something, it'll usually be in terms of conditions that for certain things it's on the discretion of the manager, for example.
Mhm.
So they can, try and get out of it if they want to. So, like, what sort of stuff can a company do and implement on a legal level like that, where okay, they're obliged, generally speaking, but they can change their mind, and especially if something like that this comes up.
Yeah, this is this is why companies have legal teams to protect companies actually from situations like this. Regarding regulations, this is something that's actually, EU is the first in the world actually to have something that's called AI Act, and many companies will follow. In the AI Act, is defined already. What is the ethical use of AI? What is the How do we protect the information of citizens? Everything is out there. But for legal teams, organizations, it's really important to actually structure the contracts, that they need to either honor everything that like for instance this chatbot would deliver, or somehow to protect themselves, to put a legal clause that they're not responsible, which would be very actually rude to your clients. If you provide information, then you need to stand behind this information, and because after all, customer is king, and you cannot just put legal stipulation that you're not responsible for the answers from the chatbot. So, but this is also part of risk mitigations, of risk appetite of a company, something that I have already mentioned before. Very, very interesting area. I know that many companies are already dealing with this, and legal teams will be really busy. I was recently talking to a colleague who complained that one of the clients told him, like, why you're so interested in technology? You're a lawyer. You don't need to know about the technical details and everything. And his response was like, well, if you want me to support you as my client, I need to understand your technology. I need to understand how do you use technology, how do you what policies do you have in place to protect yourself. This is the only way how I can actually provide legal service to you. So legal is actually really, really important now, not only in cybersecurity but also in AI.
Okay. And you also mentioned about shadow AI, when you're talking about how, a lot of companies have just, flat out said not using AI right now or AI tools, especially around when like you said, employees are, getting company data, they're putting it into, something like ChatGPT where they're, I've heard stories where they just copy and paste huge amounts, not like a couple of lines, but huge amounts of it, putting it into AI, because there's always been generally bans on employees, let's say, giving the data to, let's say, someone outsourced. Like, let's say if you're in England, and let's say if you think, okay, I'm earning X amount a day, I can get it done for a fraction of the cost if I outsource it to India. But again, you're giving data that you haven't been given permission to give to someone else. And again, that makes sense. If you just start giving it to your friend down the road, the company wouldn't be happy. They don't know where that data is going, how it's being used, but people are using AI tools for that. And I feel like it's more prevalent than people realize. But again, obviously, they're not sharing, they're not talking about it because, the companies don't want that done. But obviously, you're saying that this called shadow AI. But on the flip side, companies do need to get on board with the fact that I say AI is coming. Well, it's already here. That it's gonna be how internet, Microsoft Word, computers were, a few decades ago. You're gonna have to end up using them. You're gonna have to end up leveraging the AI tools. Yes, like you were saying, there'll be more higher, I guess, higher level tools that are, not as technical looking, so they're not as sort of command line or prompt engineering like. They'll be integrated, I guess, into existing tools and maybe some new tools where you don't. I mean, it'll get to a point where I believe they won't even say powered by AI because it'll just be all powered by. It's just how your phone. It doesn't come with a sticker saying powered by the internet. It's like it's obvious your mobile, your smartphone has internet capabilities, or these sort of capabilities. It's just a given. I think that'll be the case with AI. But how does a company make sure they don't get left behind when there may be competitors, especially maybe overseas, that don't care so much how their employees are utilizing the data and they just want to get ahead? Because again, this is not something that's going away. This is not niche. This is going to be very broad. So how do they make sure they don't get left behind?
Very good question again. So as I said before, this is what we are witnessing now is the new industrial revolutions, and I don't think there shouldn't be any company that wants to be left behind. The thing is, what they're dealing with is the change management, and difficulties actually lack of understanding, because AI in the way it is right now is fairly new, because everybody's using it and companies are now actually discussing, what are the best ways how to implement, what are the use cases, how much does it cost, which resources do we need internally to implement AI. And it's easy to get lost in a tons of information because there are not that many experts yet, because as I said, everything is fairly new. And like if you look on internet, on LinkedIn, whatever, everybody's an expert, everybody's talking about AI. But the thing is, how many people actually know how to implement AI? And this is actually what I said before. The principles of cybersecurity can be employed to AI. And I believe that anybody who is working in cybersecurity, especially in the part of governance risk compliance area, does have already like basic knowledge how to implement AI. And when we talk about shadow AI, the term is similar to something called shadow IT also, where you would have rogue devices on the corporate network. The same thing is with the shadow AI, where people use their own AIs for their own personal purposes, just to augment their knowledge and to make them work faster, only because the companies are too slow to implement AI. And the only way for companies to regulate this is actually to implement the AI management system and to write a set of policies and procedures and risk frameworks, whatever is needed, to implement AI, to actually discourage people from using shadow AI, but provide them with the tools. And I know what companies started to do. They would buy like ChatGPT, like let's buy 100 licenses for people. But this is not the way how you implement AI, because you give people ChatGPT and some of them will know how to use it, some people won't know how to use it. Because frankly, ChatGPT is very hard to use. It's not easy. Many people it is easy, but only because they use it as a glorified search engine.
Hmm.
ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, is not a search engine. You need to know how to interact. You need to know how to get the results that you need outside. And that's why I said that the future is actually that AI will go on the application level, and the front interface will change, because after all, it's about the business process that you need to automate, augment, whatever you need to do with it. Right now with ChatGPT, you cannot really do that. What you can do, you can put a model behind, and then you can build process around it. Um, I was asked like a couple of times, what are the jobs of the future? Which people should work with AI? Which functions? And my logical answer was that anybody who is working in business processes, like business process managers, they're perfect actually people to use AI, because they do understand the process. Because business process manager or business process analyst, whoever, that's the person who is interacting with both business side and it's interacting with people in IT. So that person speaks both languages. We always say that IT has its own language, business has its own language. So business process manager is somebody who understands both languages. And what he also has is the natural language. He knows actually how to write stuff. And here is the beauty now. So with the rise of AI, that person understands the process, the overall process, and understands actually how to instruct the AI. And we mentioned before chatbots, customer service, whatever, but you can actually use this now in multiple ways. And this is actually how I built a couple of models that won hackathons, which is really cool, just by understanding the business process, and then delivering something, augmenting and automating the cybersecurity process, something that people would do before, and they would use like a couple of weeks to develop something. Now it's actually everything is much much faster with the AI.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean with these. With everything that's going on, with these companies, it is not a matter of like say just getting licenses and just letting
Mhm.
them use it. Because yeah, people do just use it as a glorified search engine. Don't get me wrong. There's several times I'll use it as a search engine, but as you know, it's beyond that. Like there's so many capabilities of it now with custom GPTs. You'll be able to create your own like mini little AI bot of sorts, and then just to be able to the prompt engineering side to get the most out of it, where it becomes more of an assistant instead of
Mhm.
just using it as a search engine. And then like you were saying about who will be affected, what will the jobs of the future be. And I've been asked this question as well. My opinion is the jobs of the future will virtually be the same. They'll be enhanced by AI. It's like receptionists never went away when computers came. Their job changed. Like they need to know how to use computers. They need to know
Mhm.
how to use word processing. Like mobile phones now, calendar application. But the soft skills carried over. Like it was a virtually the same, but now they're using different tools. Engineers today, a lot of the time, are programmers, or people on computers. 100 years ago, they were engineers. They happen to not be, computers are really around then, so the engineers were slightly different. But I guess what they were producing, the methodologies were very similar, and it's just just carried over. So when I see articles like you won't need to be a developer, or you won't need developers in 5-10 years because AI will take over, and it's like if you go down that part like that notion, the thing is a developer or somebody who is developing something without software engineering experience, then but just AI, then somebody who's developing something with software engineering experience and AI, the second one will win. So it's not a matter of you won't need software engineering. Yes, you'll get some people that will be able to do certain things that only software engineers can do now, but they won't need to be software engineers. But it'll just be enhanced as
Hmm.
the software engineers will use AI, tools like AI will be baked in. Obviously, you're seeing it into like Visual Studio Code, the extensions for it to enhance it, whether it's just to write documentation or automatically do commenting, something that is very boring, it's laborious, it's employees don't want to do it, and they don't do it a lot of the time, so it aids in that side of it, so they can just basically just go around coding as they normally do, but it's kind of the boring side of it that they don't do but they kind of need to do, and the companies want them to do but they don't know how to get them to do it and keep it all uniform. They can kind of do it automatically. So yeah, this notion of AI will just replace all of these jobs, I think is just ludicrous, because you'll come across people that'll say, I'm still gonna software engineer, I'm still gonna do artwork, but I'm gonna enhance it with these tools. And those will be the new, software engineers, the new artists. And that's the way I see AI integrated into society. It'll just be supplementing and enhancing most people's workflows, and I don't think you'll go beyond that in terms of just replacing jobs on mass. Especially the sort of non-physical jobs.
Well, the thing is, many people are. This is actually a good topic, about talking about the future of jobs, future of employment. There's lots of discussion in the media that people will lose jobs because of AI. It's going to replace people. No, it's not going to replace people. It's going to augment people, and people that learn how to use AI will replace those people that refuse to learn how to use
Mm.
AI. So this is actually just the evolution. In the past, I've seen recently also somewhere on the internet, like from the early 70s, there was a photo of professors of mathematics working with science ban calculators in schools. They're bad. They're and now what we're witnessing now, ban AI. It's bad. So this is actually, history repeats itself, and people always have problems. This is change management. People always have problems accepting something new. But AI, no matter we want it or not, is going to change our lives, and it's already changing our lives. Now, I'm really happy about AI, and I use it on a daily purpose for different purposes, and I just cannot imagine my life anymore without using AI, because there are so many practical use cases where you can employ it. So I really encourage everyone, learn about it, read about it. There's lots of material. It's still early with AI. Nobody's going to lag behind. There is lots of material out there for any industry. You mentioned graphic designers before. There are so many wonderful new tools that just augment their works. See, I'm not a designer, but I like to play with tools like that also. And I wish I had the knowledge actually how to do 3D modeling and everything. I'm just enthusiast here, but people who have the knowledge, and it's just amazing what the future brings to them, and all the wonderful tools that are out there on the market. And the thing is, like maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, everything that was proprietary information, like Pixar, Disney, they had their own internally developed tools and AIs and everything. And I know I read that somewhere that it was really expensive. There are millions of dollars invested. But now all these tools, similar tools, are out on the market for the fraction of the price. and they're available to anyone. And this is the beauty, you can basically get new knowledge, new skills, and everything for free, or just for the small fraction of money. So this is the beauty of AI. People who want to study, who want to learn, everything is out there. I've also seen a couple of applications that you can produce music. There is lots of discussion now. Oh, it's going to replace composers, and bands. No, it's not going to replace anyone. It's just going to augment you, because you can brainstorm. You can do lots of stuff, in a different way than you did before. You just have to change your perspective, the way you view things around the world, the way you see the world around yourself.
Yeah, the the industry of art is a very interesting one, and like you pointed out, you're not an artist, and like I'm not an artist either. We can use these tools, Dolly or some other AI generating tool, but it's going to be enhanced with someone that actually knows how to do artwork. That actually because it's not just the technical stuff. It's if you've been an artist for 20 years, there's
Hmm.
certain things that'll be hard to explain, but that you'll just have an eye for, like you'll just know. And again, same with software development, same with like if you have a tradesman like a builder or electrician, like they sometimes just see something and they just know. It's not a matter of instructions, or do these 10 things and you can replace, like a socket. I can do some basic DIY, I can replace a socket, but there's certain things an electrician will just see, and in 2 seconds they'll just know the root cause, and I won't even have acknowledged it. Again, with instructions, I can replace a socket, but all of those years of experience and then years passed down allows that person to be like, okay, this is this is why this is happening, this is why this is happening, and then they might use tools to enhance their life. They might use a drill, they might use a flashlight, they might use these tools that makes it easier for them to identify wherever the problem is, carry out some work, but it is still the core skills that they've developed. And it's, again, like it's the same with an artist. If I just try and create some artwork using an AI generator like Dolly, I'll get some stuff that looks decent, but I won't really know what is good and what isn't good, and how things gel together, and industry standards, and what makes certain people feel a certain way with certain colors and certain design. Like you said about Pixar, they will have an idea that certain types of animation, certain types of colors and design makes people feel a certain way. And yeah, you could generate maybe something that looks good with AI, but you're not gonna get that feel and experience, because again, that's gonna be the people that have been leveraging it for a long time. But then on top of that, it's also, are you interested in it? The thing is, I don't mind using AI to generate some images over a few minutes, but I don't want to spend 6 months, as my day job, working on artwork, even if it's on AI, even if I never have to draw anything. That's just not me. Then, if you compare that with someone that loves artwork, even if they leverage AI tools heavily and they do little modification themselves, because they love it, they're willing to spend those 6 months. So, like you're saying, they'll just be using it as a tool instead, and that'll be the difference. Because I feel like when people talk about, oh, this AI tool is gonna, take over this industry and this career, they talk about it as if one command in this AI tool over a 10-second period will yield the result you require. And it's like, no, there'll still be back and forth. Even like I said, even if you're no longer drawing, there'll still be a lot of back and forth. There'll still be, knowledge that you need to have to be able to talk, with it and prompt engineer it, or, utilize these tools. And if you just don't have the interest in it and you can't see yourself doing that for hours or days or months, then you're obviously not going to achieve what somebody else can achieve that has the interest, and therefore they will be better than you, and therefore they'll be the people that people want to hire for the the better projects, and when they're trying to achieve really great results, therefore they'll be the artists. So yes, it will literally be a matter of you are enhancing everyone's sort of workflow and what they're doing, and it'll just be the people that master those tools will be the de facto people within that industry. It's like if you're becoming an artist and you don't know certain software tools, I don't know, Photoshop or
Blender or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, or Maya, if you're doing 3D modeling, whatever it is, if you don't know them and you say, "Oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do it on pen and paper," most companies are going to say no to you, no matter how good you are. And you'll be with this. If you say, "Oh, I don't want to use an AI tool, or I don't want to use I just want to use my old school methods," they're going to say no. Most companies will. So, but they'll still have artists. They'll still have these people.
Absolutely. So basically, human is irreplaceable. And I know that many people are afraid of sentient AIs, that they're coming, etc. But and I don't know if you listen to Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, he mentioned something like a month ago during the conference that they're expecting 2027 is going to be the year when the sentient AI will be out there. But still, this is not going to replace a human being because we have emotions. We're different, and people are the ones actually who can use AI. AI cannot use humans. Humans can use AI. This is the beauty. And when you mentioned, like we were talking about art, how it's going to augment there. This is actually an analogy also that I can apply to cybersecurity because we started talking about cybersecurity. What I did was actually, first the issue that I was always having was during the software development life cycle, working for a bank. They're developing different applications, different program code, and you always had to make some risk assessments so developers can actually incorporate something that's called security by design. You tell them, here are the potential risks and issues that need to be mitigated. And it's always cheaper if you do security by design instead of developing a software code and then fixing security at the end. And then statistics is also that, according to Gartner, that 75% of security failures they're because of non-software vulnerabilities and misconfigurations. And to prevent this, is there is something that's called threat modeling for software code. And threat modeling, it provides a proactive way for development teams to find and to fix issues early in during the development life cycle. So early in the phase, not at the end when the software code is finished. And to develop threat models, there are different methodologies. The best known one is from Microsoft. It's called Stride threat model, and Stride its acronym stands for spoofing, tampering, repudiation, information disclosure, denial of service, elevation of privilege, and basically according to this model, you can develop your systematic report that will show all the vulnerabilities. It will create attack trees and everything. And this is something that takes substantial amount of time actually to develop. Uh, and then there are tools on the market that cost tens of thousands of dollars, and companies buy that. And now with the rise of AI, I realized, okay, why not use the methodology and the knowledge that I have from developing software? Let's see if we can do this for the fraction of a price. So I basically developed this model, and this is actually the practical use how you can use AI in cybersecurity. I developed a model that actually does all this for the fraction of the price, almost for free. And what it does is actually it's using a data set, which is information about different frameworks. So I used 4 different frameworks. One is Stride, one is Pasta, one is called Linden, one is CVSS, which stands for Common Vulnerability Scoring System Framework. So basically, you can create threat report in on based on any uh, of the frameworks and get all the attack trees and risks and mitigations for these risks within like a couple of minutes. And this is something if you were doing by hand, it would take you probably like 2 or 3 weeks to develop something like this. So this is the practical use of AI in cybersecurity that any company could develop by themselves just by letting people learn about it, and then apply the knowledge that you have in in specific industry. In my case, it's cybersecurity. Okay, how do we put AI in cybersecurity? So this was the practical use. How you could do this, and I was actually quite happy because a colleague of mine just like 2 days ago told me that a client of him that's in the health industry, in the pharmaceutical industry, used this model to produce threat reports and to show it to FDA so they can pass the test, which was really, really cool. I was really proud of this. And normally, this takes weeks, if not months, to develop. So this is actually how anybody could do it. I know we're talking about different things. We're talking about art, we're talking about cybersecurity, we're talking about AI. But the thing is, AI is all over the place. It's everywhere, and there are many practical use cases how it could be done. And as I said, it's still early in this stage. And people who understand their business processes, they will find ways actually how to utilize AI. Everybody thinks it's expensive. It's not really that expensive. You just need to learn about it. There's lots of education out there on the internet. It's anybody could do it. You don't really need to be a programmer, software developer, software engineer, anything like that to use AI.
No, you just need to have the willingness to, have a go. And I think the other thing is go into it. Let's say if you go into ChatGPT, you're just experimenting with that. Go into it with the mindset that you're not trying to get anything out of it specifically. You're just experimenting. And people say, people always say, how do I use it? It's just like literally go on it, type something in. Once you probably type 5, 10 commands in, regardless of what they are, you'll start seeing, I'll be like, okay, like first just use it as a search engine. Use it as that, and then see what response it gives you, and you'll be like, okay, this is different. How can it? Because that's literally how I went in. I was like, okay, I come from a technical background, so okay, it is a little different, and the notion of AI and having implemented AI like in games as well. So I had a different mindset, but I still just used it as a search engine initially, and then I was like, okay, this response is obviously different to a search engine. Can I get it to, because it's talking to me like it's a human. I know it's not, but it's talking to me like it is. Can I get it to do this, like modify the results slightly? And then he modifies. You always did, and be like, can I experiment with this? And then the next time I'm like, I remember one time early in my sort of chat GPT, usage, I was manipulating some data outside of chat GPT, and I thought, if I put it in there and I'll give it the instructions to do. It's easy manipulation, but it was tedious. It was
Mhm.
time consuming. I was like, do you think I could get it to format it the way I need it by putting it in there? I put it in there and it did it, and I was like, oh my god! Like but again, it was that thing of I was just using it just for the sake of using it, and then now it is okay. I don't want to live without it. A day doesn't go by that I don't use it on some capacity. Again, like Google, usually a day doesn't go by that I don't Google something. And it's the same with Chat GPT as well. So yeah, just experiment with it, figure it out. And I think that's the best way to go about it, for the average person, and don't feel too overwhelmed by it. Because by the time it gets to the point where you kind of need to know it on some level, whether it's on a higher level or on a lower level in your job, if you're using it now and slowly using it, you'll be all good. Whereas if you say, "Oh, I'm not going to use it yet because my company doesn't allow it, or I don't need to, or I don't know, or it's not, widespread enough," by the time you need to, it'll be too late, pretty much, and you'll be playing catch up instead of feeling like, okay, it's fine. Like if somebody asks you to write a word doc, the average person to write some sort of word document in whatever tool they're using, Google or Microsoft or LibreOffice or whatever it is, you would be able to. Like you wouldn't. Most people that are listening wouldn't find that difficult. So you want to be at the point where if somebody asked you to use ChatGPT to do this or some other AI tool, you'll think, okay, I can do that, or I've got enough experience in, I can adapt my knowledge to do that. And I think that's the main takeaway. Like, what's your sort of thoughts on like the average person, how they can get into AI, and what are some resources, if you recommend any, outside of just literally going on a tool? And also, again, I'm asking a bunch of questions at the same time, but also, what tool do you recommend the average person as an introduction into these sort of AI, LLMs, this sort of word. For me, it's ChatGPT, but is it something else you recommend instead as the first one?
Well, before we start talking about tools, we have touched upon something that's really interesting. It's actually behavior. Is part of it's psychology. How do we use technology? How do we use AI? And this is the field of science called cyberpsychology, which examines also the psychological phenomena which is associated with digital technology. And in particular, this is how we use internet and how we use digital devices. AI being on the internet, it doesn't have to be on the internet, but it's a digital thing. And the way how we interact, this is actually really interesting because it has practical uses, for it's your online identity, it's your social interaction, it's your online behavior. It's also addiction, internet addiction, AI addiction. We use it for e-learning, mental health. So there are different ways where cybersecurity would be employed. So now, when we talk about how do we use different tools, is actually how do we feel about digital technology? Many people have fear. This is something that we mentioned before. And there is really no need to have fear. I know it's easy to say, but it's resistance to change. And now, when you give people ChatGPT, as you mentioned, as something that's widely known to everyone, okay, there is ChatGPT, and then this is how we use it. And many people get frustrated with ChatGPT because they don't really understand how to use it. Because, as I said before, ChatGPT is really, really hard. But then again, if you go to anthropic models like Claude, or you go to Google Gemini, or whatever tool you use, a language model, you will have to do some basic prompting. And if you don't have the knowledge, understanding, and if you don't know how to express yourself, you're going to get some vague results, that you're not going to be happy with. You'll get frustrated with it, and you wouldn't know how to use this. And to you, this will be just like the waste of your time. So many people, as I said, companies would buy ChatGPT because everybody's talking about it, and then they would just hope to get something out of it. So at that point, they will get frustrated because they're not really getting results they're expecting. Then they would go to next level, which is buying some vertical tools. Vertical tools being like, I don't know, like Sonic Writer, like Writer, Copy AI, whatever. There are different vertical tools that will just produce some results that you could actually use. Like writing articles, different blogs. You would get like a vertical thing, and companies would be happy with it. But then the next level from there is somewhere actually where I'm now specializing personally, is actually how to put AI in different business processes. And this is where we put AI language models on the application level. And the tool that I'm using, since you asked, it's called Mind Studio AI. Mind Studio AI is actually something that's like Windows did the revolution, from DOS prompting. We had Windows. Now this is Mind Studio, and there are also other tools similar, which are called no code AIs. But the thing is, you actually put different language models behind. You can combine different language models. So for this one, for threat reporting that I mentioned, I'm using three different language models. One is for oral writing, which is Anthropic Haiku model. The other one for reasoning, I used ChatGPT 4 because it has really good reasoning. And also to create the attack tree, I use Google Gemini because I was getting the best results with Google Gemini. So, and this is somewhere where you can actually experiment, because it's important to have the right temperature, the token usage. This is something that you have to adjust. And I know it could sound scary to people who are not doing this, but trust me, within a day, a couple of days, you can learn this really fast. And once you discover how to do this, it's really, really exciting, and you get lots of inspirations. Oh, let's try different models, let's try different uses. Then you show this. That was my case. I showed this to a couple of friends. Everybody got excited, And then a friend of mine approached me like, can we do something for project management? I said, sure. Let me see which documents do you have. So I check all documentations, frameworks and stuff. I said, okay, this is your data set. So we'll put this documentation. This will become your data set. And let's talk to these documents with different language models. Let's see what could we produce here. So there was suddenly, okay, let's make a project charter based on your framework and everything. And I know writing a project charter, it takes some time. It takes a couple of days, if not weeks, to write the right project charter. Before starting the project, you need the project charter. Here with a tool, you can have it like within minutes. It's just amazing. But anybody could build model for themselves. So this is the beauty actually of using tools like Mind Studio. I know I'm putting a plug here for them, but I tried different tools, and this is my experience. This was actually the best, and they're still developing it, which is a beauty. And they're like every week there is a new feature, new function, something new. It's really, really, really interesting. How fast this develops. Yeah.
Yes, what I love about what we've been talking about, let's say, we've been talking about art, we've been talking about AI, we've been talking about cybersecurity. If you just look at it, they kind of seem unlinked, but they're actually so connected. So, let's say if a company wants to, obviously create some artwork, do something in the art space, it's as we know, it's getting to the point where you're gonna have to use AI, whether it's directly initially or whether it's baked into something like Photoshop. Again, that's something that I really want to see. AI more baked into tools like Photoshop, because I've always wanted to, like, I use Photoshop and I've gotten pretty good with it over the years, and that's just pure necessity. Again, I'm a coder by trade. I'm not an artist, but I've got pretty decent with Photoshop and like tools like Premiere Pro. But there's times where I use Photoshop and I'll see an actual artist use it, and I'm like, I could do what is happening or what I'm doing faster if I could program it with some basic just scripting. Just be able to say, okay, if I'm repeating stuff, just to be able to be like, use some sort of for loop or nested loop and do it accordingly or with the colors or whatever. Like I know it would be faster if I could do some programming. Now with AI, if it's baked in and you have some sort of chat feature, you could potentially program it without having to know scripting language. You could talk to it, and I think that's going to enhance it. So yeah, there's going to be, like, let's say, obviously any industry, but let's say art, then AI with the tools. But then the thing with cybersecurity is, because obviously companies are concerned, rightfully so, they obviously need to have practices in place for the security, for the cybersecurity around it. And then the tools like Adobe that are implementing AI, they need to make sure they have the cybersecurity knowledge and the systems in place that somebody can't take over it easily. And because it's not just a matter of taking over so somebody can't use it. It might be, let's say, a big company, $1 billion company is using it. Let's say a video game company, they're using it to create artwork, but it's like the tools being modified slightly or something's being injected into it, and now what they're generating is copyright. Like it could be a matter of that, like they can still use it, but they don't know that it is now producing stuff that they legally cannot use when they are publishing the game. And that's where the cybersecurity aspect comes into it. So it is multi-layered, and I think for some people they'll just need to interact with the top layer, like the Photoshop. Then some people will be needing to, interact with the AI side and implementing it obviously into the Photoshop. Then there'll be people that are interacting with the cybersecurity. And I feel like you're in like the layer 2 and 3. So like the AI and the cybersecurity, side of it, and informing, the first layer. So like that's the way I see it. Like, how do you see it?
Oh, this is a really, really good question. Really tough one. How to protect against all these threats? These are all emerging
Yes.
threats. And when we talk about cybersecurity, I was just thinking about something that the other side is doing, the dark side. There is something called like fraud GPT, which is a tool that criminals use actually to produce phishing emails, produce malware, and which is really, really, I mean, it's very innovative, but it's making our life more difficult on the good side. And they're also, as I said before, they're also learning fast about this, and they're utilizing AI. and just amazing, the practical use in cybersecurity. Um, there is also something that's called AI worm. The worm, the virus, basically, the worm that learns about your vulnerabilities and crawls through your system. All these things are in development or already being developed. And then companies, they really need to find new ways, how to protect against this. And the only way you can protect yourself is by utilizing more AI to fight AI. So you're basically in the fighting against machines. This is we entered, and we're not even aware of it yet. We entered the new age of security, which is so amazing. And no, when we talk also about this data poisoning that we touched upon before, this is something that is fairly new. That's fairly new, and something that we will have to deal in the future. And this is the role of regulation. It's really important here. That's why I mentioned before AI Act in the EU, and the US is coming, and the UK they'll have their own laws. India passed their own law that they retrieved a couple of weeks later because there are some issues that they just basically blocked all the research on everything in AI. So this was not the best implementation of a law. But before you can start doing technical measures, you need to provide some context to it, and this context is the regulations. So yes.
Yeah, I mean, yes, regulation, the regulatory side of it is, it's interesting. Obviously, it's developing heavily. Obviously, like I said, with the EU, they've got the act now. How other countries are going to handle it, which countries are, you know, not really going to implement that many regulations, and they're just going to say, just go gung ho on it, and, how that'll pan out long term, whether the regulatory route is better long term in terms of just development and progress, or whether it is a matter of just let things happen, let things, people and organizations use it however they want. Yes, some will crash and burn and there'll be problems, but maybe for those particular economies, it'll work out. But I think it'll be interesting just to see how it pans out. But earlier on, you touched on something, like education. People, in education, utilizing tools like ChatGPT. Like I've heard it a lot firsthand from people that I know that are like at university, and they're writing their dissertations, using ChatGPT, or last minute, they haven't quite finished, and then they're using ChatGPT, and then I'm always eager to find out, like a few months later, if anything happened. And so far, I haven't firsthand heard anyone that said, "Oh, they got caught out," or they failed as a result. Like, it's worked out fine for them so far. I think the problem is, there's a lot of pushback. Education. I find education and universities, especially, though they promote themselves as being forward thinking and very open and open minded, they're some of the most closed minded institutions on the planet. And it is unfortunate to say that, but that is just the reality of it. And they don't want to, obviously they've got to be careful what they're doing, and like any big organization, but I feel like they just push back at it too much, because as a programmer, when I was at university, we was creating our application and doing whatever we was doing. Then we had to comment it. Then we had to write documentation. Then we had to, write, do write ups on it, like a dissertation. And like that more soft side of it, the write ups and maybe even the documentation. That was the boring part. Nobody wanted to do that, especially the write up, like the dissertation. But it could be make or break for your grade, even though it wasn't, like, nobody wanted to do it. It wasn't as important, I would say. Like, it was important, but not as important. And I feel like instead of pushing back with AI, they should be like, okay, let's leverage it so people can actually now create good write-ups, something that probably somebody wants to actually read. It's more coherent, and because acknowledging the fact that, let's say, not every developer is good at English, or good at writing and good at language,
Mhm.
and that's just the reality of it. Let them use those tools to enhance what they're meant to be writing, and obviously have restrictions and have barriers around it. Then weed it into the development side as well. I think that would be far better. and get instead of having them spend time again, this is just software engineers, but it's applicable to artists or any field. Instead of having them waste so much time on documentation and dissertations, get them to learn other tools and even sort of best practices and principles that when you get into the real world, like at university, I was never taught about CI/CD, at all. Sort of project management methodologies, kind of glanced over it, but
Mhm.
that was something, like sprint planning, all that side of it wasn't. I didn't learn until I actually worked and I had to actually do it, and then how to actually deploy an application, in some sort of container, or put it onto a live environment. Again, I was doing that the side anyway, so I knew, but most people didn't know. Like, they just thought the hard part was writing the code, getting it to work, but they had never deployed it onto any of the app stores. They had never collaborated with other types of fields. So, an artist with a programmer, or maybe some sort of writer, or something like that. Like, get them to spend time on those things that are so hard to get right going forward, and they just don't know all of these tools and all of these sort of systems, instead of wasting their time doing the documentation when it can be enhanced with AI. Like, what's your opinion on that, especially where AI can be used in education and how it is?
You see, the education in I believe it's now the crucial part of preparing students for careers in different fields. And we already see in academia, that there. I'm also a professor at the Open Institute of Technology in cybersecurity, but we also have a program in artificial intelligence. And this is something that there is lots of interest actually for people to go and study there as they're part of their master's degree. So the integration of AI tools in learning environments, such as personalized learning tools that will adapt to students' pace and students' style of learning, this is something that's already out there. If it's not there, it's coming to different schools, different universities, and this will actually help you learn faster to enhance you will enhance your knowledge. And AI is coming out to different levels. It's coming to K-12 education, to undergraduate, to graduate programs, and also as part of your professional development and part of your continuing education. So basically, there is a little bit of AI for everyone at a different stage in their life. So there's tons of specialist courses and degrees in AI already out there on the market. But what are the key topics, which is really interesting, that what needs to be covered in education? It's always about the foundations of AI, because the best way how to learn about AI is that you understand foundations. And there are already free courses. I check different of them. Like, for instance, from Google, they have just wonderful set of courses in AI, from very basics to very advanced, and everything is freely available, which is really wonderful. So in these foundations of AI, you would learn about the basics of machine learning, neural networks, about different algorithms. But it's not like you have to be an expert in this. You need to get familiar with the foundations of AI to understand how this works, and what is the practical use. Then another topic that needs to be covered is ethics in AI, because you need to understand also what are the ethical implications, what are the biases in AI systems, and what is the importance of designing a fair and transparent AI. Because you probably, I don't know if listeners heard of Grok, which is Twitter's or X AI model that works a little bit different than other language models. Only because it's cynical, whatever, and it provides different information than other language models will produce. So this is why ethics in AI is important. You can design it to act any way you want it to act. That's why you need to understand what are the biases in AI systems, and why it's design really important. Then you need to study also about different applications of AI. How is AI applied in various fields? For instance, in health, healthcare diagnostics. autonomous vehicles, financial services, and there are different application use cases where you can use it. And also, it's important to know, as a basic knowledge, is how is AI used within a society, and what is the impact on a society, what are the policy considerations, what are the future implications of AI on our lives. This is something that we tried to discuss before. And also there are the different challenges also when we talk about education, different challenges of AI. This is first access to AI. Who can have access, because there shouldn't be people who are privileged to have access to AI. Right now everything is freely available, but in time, they will become more sophisticated, not more expensive. So it's not going to be easily available to everyone. That's my guess. But access and inclusivity, this is really important. That this is a challenge that needs to be resolved during the this education phase, because you need to ensure that everybody has access to AI education across different regions, across different demographics also. Um, we mentioned before that AI it's changing really quickly, and basically each week there is something new, and it's really hard to follow. So it's really important to keep your curriculum that it's current, because it evolves really. AI technology evolves really rapidly, and the content needs regular updates to stay relevant. So before it was like, okay, let's review our program once a year. Now you will have to review your program like each semester, each term. It needs to be reviewed to make sure that you're up to date, that you're teaching your students the right thing. And also, it's important to balance the theory and practice, because right now we're discussing, there's lots of hype about AI. You can do this, you can do that, but very few people are showing actually what is the practical use of AI. What else can you do? Everybody can write a song with ChatGPT or something like this, but what is the real practical use in a business context? So schools or educators, they need to provide hands-on learning experiences also with real AI systems, while also teaching all these theoretical foundations that I mentioned before. So this is really really exciting era of AI and education in AI, and it's really really exciting. I always get excited when I talk about this. It's really really interesting.
Okay, so regarding your consulting agency, what sort of clients do you work with, and what type of projects as well?
Okay. So I don't have that many clients yet, but the projects I'm working on are mostly in cybersecurity, and also, well, everything in cybersecurity, but more oriented on the governance risk compliance side. So the agency that I have is actually dual. It's one is for cybersecurity consulting, the other one is for AI modeling. Only because I see these two really closely tied together. So in cybersecurity, what I do here, I provide basic consulting. I have a couple of clients here. I cannot mention their names now, but I provide like threat analysis, threat reporting, governance, risk assessments, compliance. This is so-called also GRC suite, and basically everything that's part of the virtual CISO. There's also incident handling, incident management, stuff like this. For AI modeling, I'm doing everything similar, but with the AI. So one of the models that I developed was for the incident management. That's the one also that won one of the hackathons, which is really interesting. That's it's so easy to build. And what it does is the first level support to small business owners, and also to people who provide consulting services as incident responders. So basically, the way it works is, if you have some sort of an issue, I know from my experiences that many people, small business owners, they don't really invest. 80% of people don't invest anything in cybersecurity, and they work in the reactive mode, meaning that when something happens, they go and resolve their issue if they can. But usually, when something happens, it's already too late. This is when you get like ransomware or something like this, and then you're desperately looking for somebody to help you, and you call around and you beg for support. And this is, from my experience, this is not the way how you should run your business, thinking like I'm too small and nobody's going to attack me and I'm not of interest to anyone, because everybody can be a target and everybody's of interest. So basically, you spend like first 24 hours calling around for help, and then you find somebody who cannot help you because he's not either educated or whatever. So the incident helper that I developed here was actually the first line of support. You would describe your problem, or you can upload the screenshot, whatever you have, and the AI will tell you, okay, you have like phishing email. This is what happened. Here are the risks that you are facing now. Here are the mitigation methods, how you can try to resolve this, the initial steps. So, for instance, if something is suspicious, it will advise you based on a specific case, but it will advise you to either, I don't know, change your password, check your access privileges, whatever is needed on the system. If you need additional support, it directs you to a couple of people who you can call and who can provide second level of support. And I know this is really important for companies, because you can put this AI on your monitor. I also developed a small QR code. I mean, developed, it's not nothing. It's actually leading to the AI, URL leading to the AI. But you can put this on your monitor. If you ever have an issue, you scan the barcode, it opens AI, you describe your problem or upload the picture, whatever, and it gives you basic information, what are the steps necessary for you now to do as the first level of support, and where to call for help. This is really, really beneficial. I know I actually got some good responses for people who already use that. The second one developed was for the governance risk compliance. I mentioned before the ISO 27000 series. This is the one actually to run information security management system within a company. So I developed one actually that produces documentation. I know from my experience from a bank is like we had like 100, 150 different documents, different policies, methodologies, assessments, everything like the paperwork, describing, what is the information security policy, what is the overall security policy, business continuity, crisis management, incident management, risk frameworks. Everything is out there. So what I developed here is actually that you, as a company, you would provide your basic inputs about the organization. And you can do the risk assessment, and you can also produce the policies that you need to run the security system, which is really cool. From my experience also as a consultant, if you do this by hand, it will take you probably like 3 or 4 months to write all this documentation and everything. Here it's just a couple of days, just providing. I mean, of course, you need to provide some inputs from the organization there, but you can produce much faster all these documents. And another benefit is actually when you also have to regularly review each document. And this is something you usually do like once a year. But if you have, as I said, like 120, 150 different documents, you don't review 150 at once. You basically, each week, each month, you review certain portion of documents. And usually you need an army of people who will do that, because it's not easy. It's very tedious work, and it's very time consuming, and you need to spend lots of time just reviewing all documentation and implement changes within an organization. So it takes lots of time, lots of resources, and nobody likes to do it. So now with the practical use of AI, it's much faster. You just input what are the changes that happen within an organization. It will just produce the new document. Based on the old document, you will get the new version, which is real beauty and practical use of AI, how you can generate all this documentation. And because this is, people usually think, oh, I have all these documents that they're just waiting in a drawer. Not true, because all this documentation, people who work in security, you use it on a daily basis. It's not just you produce something on paper for auditors. This is actually what you use on a daily basis, because you always need to remind yourself, if something changed, what are the ways how we do this? There are different levels of documentation. So everything can be now produced now with the AI. The third one, that also won this hackathon is about the threat modeling that I explained before. But this is also very important for any company. It doesn't have to be a bank. It can be anybody who is developing a software code. He and she. I mean, you need to provide some threat report, threat model for your software code. And this is the beauty of application, because you can use different methodologies like Stride, Pasta, Linden, whatever. Each one has different purpose. You will provide basic information about the application you're developing, and it will tell you, okay, here are the risks, the risk attack tree, mitigation methods. You will get the entire report, and you can give this to your developers, and then incorporate all the changes, because it's much easier for developers also if they're aware this perspective. What are the risks they need to resolve? Usually, I know it takes more time to resolve, but the thing is, if you do this early in the development life cycle, it's actually cheaper and more efficient than if you incorporate security changes once the application is out there in production. So this is what I do. Actually, I have a couple of people working with me, and I'm really happy about the way this is progressing. There are also lots of, I know that I actually have quite a few people asking, how could you help me, develop our own AI model? It's very interesting also for small business owners, like in manufacturing, they have issues like with optimizing their stock. I mean, there are so many different practical ways how you could leverage AI. So I believe 2024 onwards, this is definitely the age of AI, and the companies start to implement it.
So, if somebody's looking to set up their own agency, especially in the AI space, what advice would you give to them? And maybe they've got an agency already. Maybe it's like some sort of a digital marketing agency or software consulting agency, but they want to go more into AI. What advice would you give to them? Especially now that you're actually doing it.
See, for the agency, what I realized is it's not enough to deliver a model, AI model, because people don't really understand yet. They know about AI, but they don't understand actually what it is, how it could be implemented, what are the drawbacks, whatever. So what's really important is that you educate your clients, your current clients, your future clients. Start with the education, and this is something that we mentioned before. What are the basics of AI? What are the practical uses of AI? What are the use cases where you could help them? And it's really important before you actually sell something to someone is that you understand what are their pain points. And this is something that the business can tell you what their pain points are. And maybe they're all considering something, oh, maybe we should use AI. We don't know how. It's really important to have this honest discussion, like the discovery call, but they will actually tell you what were the thinkings, opinions, how they think AI should work for them. And this is where you can actually help them and guide them, and even help them develop something. Many companies, they have their own internal resources. This is another way how you can work with them. You can empower them with the knowledge, with tools, with advice, whatever. Because everybody is also relying on external support. Not everybody knows everything, but more people have different perspectives, and they can work better together. So these are actually a couple of good advices. I wish somebody told me before, but as I said, education is the most important one. First, to start with education. It doesn't have to be something really extensive that will last for weeks, but like one day education will be sufficient for any business to understand what is AI, what are the practical uses, and why they would need to implement this in their companies.
Okay, and you mentioned a discovery call. For anyone listening, what is that? And then once you've explained that, how do you deal with a potential client questioning why they need to pay for discovery? Obviously, once you explain it, the audience will understand why that some client might push back because they might say, we're not physically gain anything, if you know what I mean. Obviously, I'll let you explain it, and then uh, you know, um, you know,
See, for me
answer that
during the
question.
yes, for me during the discovery call, it's really important that the potential client would tell you what is the issue they're facing, why they think they will need AI. And another one is actually very important is, do you have a budget for this? Because if they don't have the budget, then they're wasting your time and they're wasting their own time. Otherwise, it's what's the point? So usually during the discovery call, you need to see if you're the right match for each other. do actually have, as an agency, do have the specialized knowledge that they could utilize, and they actually need to see if you are the right company for them. And usually you would do that, if you have a budget and if you know what you need to do. This is what I would do during the discovery call.
Okay, and uh, you know that discovery call, are you charging for that? And how, if you are charging for it, how are you proposing that to clients? Again, because again, they
See,
might say, you're not delivering anything per se physical.
yes, this is also a very good question. Right now I'm not charging for this, but the advice I'm getting elsewhere is I need to start charging for this. But the thing is, I'm also using this as the learning experience, because you need to talk to different people to learn about their use cases and everything. And I know I had many cases where people just wanted to chat about something, and basically, okay, I'm happy to chat, but if I'm not making any money, then I support myself for a living, but the thing is, as I said, this is we're early in this industrial revolution. Everybody is learning, and well, you don't have to really charge right away. But I will actually start to charge, probably I don't know, like 500 euros per discovery call, something like this, just to show seriousness. They're not wasting your time. You're not wasting their time. That you actually get some value. Otherwise, everything is like some sort of free chat, and there is no point in this. But it's good to get contacts. As I said, I'm still learning, and I know many people are in this phase also learning. So I don't mind actually talking to them.
Okay, and for those 500 euros, how long is that discovery call? Is it a fixed
Oh,
time, 1 hour, 2 hour? And from the end of it, even though you're not, creating them, some sort of, model or anything, I'm sure you're delivering something. Obviously like a plan of action. In what form does that, come as? What do
basically,
they get?
yeah. Basically, so 1 hour would be like we're discussing about your use cases, about your needs, everything that you need, and I would provide like a proposal. This is actually what we have discussed, and here is my proposal how we could approach your topic here. And this is actually what you get. Everything is written there, a time estimate, roadmap, basically basic proposal. So if we can agree on that, then I would deliver the whole plan. How to implement something, what are the resources needed, how much it would cost. But for now, you just get the basic information, so you have actually a better understanding. Because after all, you may decide to go with somebody else. But I want you to have some valuable information, so you don't have to go through all these discoveries all over again. You will just get the report from the discovery call. What is possible, what is not possible, how much it will cost, what are the resources that you would need, what is the time frame. So all this information will be written in the report. I think this is very valuable to companies to have something like this also. Because
Okay.
after all, you don't have to make decision right now, because
Yeah.
many companies are not ready to jump into a project. But if you're ready in 6 months from now, okay, you already have a start. We have already agreed on stuff, so it's really easy for you then to start the project.
Yeah, and they know they've spoken to 5 people. They remember that Tom, was knowledgeable. His proposal was within their budget, and they felt like they could deliver when they was ready. So yeah, it is like for anyone listening, especially when you're doing, I'd say, any sort of agency work, and
Mhm.
you're trying to get clients, is just because it's no today, it might not be no permanently. Sometimes it's obviously not a no permanently. Sometimes they might say, let's revisit it in 6 months. And obviously, you've got to, weed out the people that are just wasting your time versus, okay, the people that actually want to revisit it in 6 months. Right now, they may not have the budget. They may not, see it as important enough to act on it, whatever it is. And then some of them might be like, thanks for the proposal. We'll, maybe in the future we'll have a look, or we're just not ready right now. So, like, so some of them are, quite not quite as set in terms of, well, let's just revisit it at, X date. But yeah, just because it's a no now, it might be a yes later. And another thing where I would recommend is being, helpful, being polite, and, acting professional may mean you may get business that you may not have otherwise. Like in the future, they might think, okay, we wasn't gonna go. We're thinking about it. We remember Tom. He knew his stuff. He was very polite, very professional, even though the answer was no. And at the time, maybe it was without, out of our budget, but he recommended someone else, or he recommended some resource, and as a result that helped us at the time, so we want to go back to Tom. Or they might just recommend you to someone else. They might say, they might have a colleague or a company they work with and say, okay, there was Tom, he's great, go and check him out. And having a recommendation like that, you'll just means you've just jumped through a hoop without having to actually jump through. You've just sort of circumvented it. So that's another thing that I would say when you're starting, agency work as well.
Right.
So with the discovery stuff, like once you've done that, you give them something, like a PDF or some sort of plan of action. My question to you is: are you using AI like ChatGPT to help you do that write up? To make it look professional, organize it. Then obviously, you're inputting it, but how are you using ChatGPT or AI to help you, propose that?
Yeah, see, I'm using basically everything that's out there on the market, um, but mostly I use Mind Studio. But to prepare like a proposal or something like that, you still need to understand the business process. You need to understand the business itself. There are many things you need to understand. What AI can help you with is actually to help you with the proper language. So you're actually, writing grammatically correct, and this is the beauty of AI. Actually, it will structure this for itself, so everybody can now write perfect English. This is what's really important for me, because I'm not a native speaker of English. I'm Croatian, I'm Croatian American actually, but still, it's not my native language, and it helps me a lot actually to structure. I can have conversations, we can joke and we can talk. I can give lectures, whatever, but to write proper document, this is actually the practical use of AI. But you would still need to input all the information. AI is not going to write your proposal because you ask me, like, write me a proposal for my client. This is not how it works. But you need to provide basic information on what is the client trying to achieve, what are the pain points of a client, which tools, which language models are you proposing to use, something like this. And this is something that a human being can actually provide. AI can help you structure the document. This is the beauty of AI, because it's augmenting you and it's making you much faster in delivering something that normally would take, like, I don't know, like 5 hours to write a proposal or longer. It depends on the scope of the project. With this one, you can do it probably within an hour. So this is the beauty. It saves you time and it makes everything look nicer and more accurate. So it's really I really like to use this, and as I said before, I cannot really imagine not using AI. Is the Chat GPT the right tool? Probably not. As the language model, it's well known tool, but there in my experience there are other language models that work much better, and they're also cheaper by the token usage. So, for instance, for writing, I would use um, Haiku, which is Anthropic tool. Uh, Really nice and really affordable, and I really get good results. With ChatGPT, it's always something is off. It takes time to model ChatGPT, but with Haiku, it's really actually fairly easy. You usually get what you need much faster than ChatGPT. But then again, different models are for different purposes. I know that my son approached me lately. He's studying mathematics and he needs to write a program code, and he was trying to find the errors in the program code. I know he was struggling with this a lot. So I asked him, like, do you want me to help you with the AI? He's like, no, AI is not going to help us. It cannot do anything. I already tried ChatGPT and I didn't really get the results that I wanted. So I said, well, use ChatGPT. Let's try to use Llama, Code Llama, for this. So we inputted his code to Code Llama, and the result we got, it told him immediately, like, here are the errors that you made in your program code. This is what you need to change. He was just like in awe, like, how is this possible? I tried ChatGPT. I said, well, because ChatGPT, it was not good for your purpose. You didn't model it right. Maybe you could get the result with ChatGPT as well, but you will need to change probably the temperature, the tokens, whatever. You will need to change something there. And I didn't really bother with ChatGPT because I knew that Code Llama would give you immediately the result that you need. So this is actually something that's also available to clients. They all want to use AI, but you need to instruct them. They need somebody to tell them, somebody who understands. I'm not saying I'm the one who understands everything, but I tried different models. I tried different results. I tried with different temperatures, and something that I was getting, this is the knowledge that I have. It's probably more knowledge than the small business or any business would have right now if they didn't experiment with this. But I could advise you which language model you could use for your use case. So this is also type of consulting that I will provide.
So, you also mentioned, hackathons. If somebody's looking to get involved in hackathon, how do they go about that? And what do they need to know? Like, is there sort of like a base level knowledge or understanding they should know before getting involved? And what are some hackathons you would recommend?
This is actually a very good question, because to me, like a couple of months ago, I had no idea anything about hackathons, because I always thought hackathons are for people who need to know coding and who are software developers, and I'm not the software developer. But then I started researching a little bit more, and I realized there is something called AI business hackathon. So I was intrigued. What is the AI business hackathon? So you write your business idea, you develop a model, how you could solve this idea with the AI. This was the business hackathon. Another one was actually, let's develop the model with the specific language model. So I said, okay, I could do that, because I understand the business process and I use Mind Studio, so I can develop one. I'm working now on the one from Google AI hackathon, which is doing like a week from now. I'm also building one model, so I don't need to know coding, but I need to solve the business problem with AI. So there's a website called devpost.com, where you can find all the information about different hackathons, and they're like, I'm just amazed how many of them are there, and they all provide some monetary awards. It's really interesting. There is the whole new world in hackathons that you can discover. But the thing is, you need to have lots of time also for this. If you have regular work and working with your clients and stuff. So for me, this is more like labor of love. I do this for fun because this is the best way how to learn something, and it's also, it's giving you some adrenaline boost because you're competing, and you build something and you believe that something that you built might be useful to someone, and then even if you win something, even better. But this is more like for fun, and actually it's about the community. I really like the community about around AI, because there's so many nice people, everybody's so enthusiastic about it. So actually, if you feel sad or anything like this, the best way is go to a hackathon, go to the AI community. You'll be inspired with people, with all the new ideas, with different tools, practical use cases. This is really, it's really, really, really cool. It's really exciting, and this is what I like.
Okay, yeah, I know what you mean with especially hackathons. It is usually associated with programming, and even like
Right.
the terminology kind of hints at something technical. And having been in a coding hackathon before, yes, you definitely do need coding knowledge, because being there, like, I've seen people come with no coding knowledge, and they kind of want to, like, they have that mindset of, I've got an idea, I'm gonna get a couple of technical people on board, and they're just gonna code it, and I'm gonna explain to them. Like, every time I've seen that, it doesn't work out. You can have a non-technical background, but if it's not beyond just having an idea and that's it, like, if you're at a hackathon where you're making video games and you're an artist, obviously there's a lot of value there, obviously. But if you're maybe a writer over a 24 to 48 8 hour period, I don't know how much value a writer for trying to implement some sort of story to making a game from scratch, for example, is going to have. And then on top of that, if you just say, oh, I've just got an idea, I'm going to get somebody on board. So yeah, understanding the type of hackathon you're going to, and I guess just have a Google, just think about what, or maybe Chat GPT or some other, use some other model, figure out what's involved in the making that particular product, a game, obviously. So if it's a business hackathon or just some sort of software hackathon, what are the main 2 or 3 disciplines? Do you have those disciplines, or can you add value, and go from there? And maybe it might be a matter of picking up some sort of skills, core skills over a 6 to 12 month period, then going into a hackathon, and why are you also joining the hackathon as well? Like, what are you trying to get out of it? Again, if it is for that purpose of I've got an idea, I really want someone to execute it, and there's hundreds of people there ready to execute stuff, so I should be able to find someone. I don't think that'll go down well. But if it's just like, I want to get involved, I want to work with people, and we'll see where it goes. Because again, whatever idea you have, it might not be the idea that you end up implementing, and you might even change part way through it. Like that's happened to me before as well. So yeah, don't be too married to the idea. I would say it's startups in general, but especially in hackathons.
I agree with you. The thing is, not everybody needs to participate in everything. But you mentioned, for instance, those storytellers. I think they actually can provide lots of value, uh, because the storyteller will use his own natural language for prompting. And now with the different tools, even with ChatGPT, if you know what should be the output, you would actually know how to model ChatGPT through the basic interface to get. Even though this is very hard, you don't get consistent results because you're not using RAG, which is retrieval augmentation model, and this is something that's really important that you actually implement RAG when you work with AI. So this is the next level for people because right now they're in ChatGPT entering basic prompts. But somebody who is a storyteller who would know actually how to ask ChatGPT produce me something that should be in line with my expectations because he already knows how the blog should look like. There should be like a hook and sub hook and the main content and call to action, whatever. I learned many things along the way by working with ChatGPT. But somebody who has this knowledge, he would know much faster than me, how to design something like this in any language model. But if you go to the hackathon, you can have the use case. Okay, I want to build my own AI that will produce blog articles that will be SEO optimized, everything. And I believe you don't need a coding language. You don't need to be software developer or have the coding knowledge. You, but if you understand the storytelling, I'm very convinced that you will be able to build something like this just by reading about it, learning about it. Within a day, you will know how to build your own SEO optimized content generator in AI, and you're ready for hackathon.
Oh yeah, then you are ready. So again, I want to thank you, Tom. For coming on. I'm nearing the end of the the questions that I want to ask you. Before we wrap up, I always do like a rapid fun round of questions to tone it down for the end of the podcast. But before I do that, what advice would you give? Again, I'm probably just touching on what we've already spoken, but what advice would you give wrapping up for somebody looking to get into AI that's on the outside, the cybersecurity side of it as well, and anything else that you feel like you have knowledge in and that you can give some advice. Like what advice would you give?
The first one is actually don't be afraid of AI, embrace MBI. So people who leverage AI will be more powerful, they will augment themselves, they will be actually able to produce much more than they can produce right now. But for this, you will need to have some foundations of AI. As we said, foundations are understanding basic stuff of machine learning, about neural networks, about algorithms. So this is something you need to understand the concept, to understand how it works. Then it's important that you understand the ethics in AI, understanding what are the implications of using AI, what are the biases in AI systems, what are the different use cases or applications of AI, to understand how it impacts the current fields in industry, like we mentioned before, I don't know, like healthcare, like vehicles, the different, even cybersecurity, there are different applications. You need to understand what people are doing, what companies are doing with AI, and also need to understand, how is AI impacting us as a society here. So you need to understand, what are the implications here. We mentioned also cyber psychology, but these are all very basics. So once you understand how this works, you're ready for the next stage and actually to you do for the practical use of AI in your organization. So basically advice to everyone is like, if you're not learning yet, studying yet this, just go on the internet. There are many free resources. I mentioned Google before, Nvidia, they have tons of information of free stuff out there. Invest every day like 45 minutes, which is not a lot. To learn something new, like within a month, you will know lots of stuff, and education is free like this, which is wonderful, and just embrace this opportunity.
Oh yeah, 100%. Embrace the opportunity. Have a look at the resources. Many of them are free. There's no harm in paying for stuff. There's so much free content that start with that first, and then that can kind of inform the decision of which paid stuff to get. Because you look into the free stuff, and you're like, okay, I'm really interested in this aspect of AI. I'll get this book on it, or get this course on it. So it's not a matter of free versus paid. I think free is a good way to start, and then from that you can see which path to go to. And actually, with you just talking about, obviously, Nvidia and some of the other companies. Again, before I get to the sort of the fun rapid fire questions, again, another question that's popped up in my head. With everything that's going on, obviously Microsoft invested in heavily into OpenAI. Every other company looking into AI as well. The how crazy Nvidia's, let's say, just their market capitalization has gone to what, the third most valuable company in the world, I think, just behind what, Apple and Microsoft. And obviously Microsoft heavily into AI. Apple, obviously, I'm sure it is, but I don't think it's the same way Google and Microsoft is. Do you see a world where Microsoft could become the de facto kind of Google, and especially with the search engine side of things? Like, you might go to Bing or whatever their new one might be, powered with OpenAI, because obviously how ChatGPT and OpenAI's tools are, and with all the investment that Microsoft's done, I feel like it's a real possibility that Bing or whatever Microsoft has might be better than Google.com. Like, what do you think about that?
That's really also interesting question, because it's not really a question who is the best. It's a very competitive market out there, but you have to see what is the underneath. Underneath is actually everything is being run in cloud. So we're actually talking here about who are the best cloud providers, and suddenly we're talking about Amazon, we're talking about Google, we're talking about Microsoft. Each company has its own cloud, and they're all supporting different language models. We know that Amazon, they support, they're the main provider for Anthropic, which is a wonderful AI company. But then again, Microsoft is also, and Google, they're also investing now. They also want to be provide cloud provider for this company. OpenAI, they're now exclusive, like to Microsoft, but they're also being run on Amazon servers. So the thing is, the companies that are making money are cloud providers, and language models are being run everywhere. They're also in India. There are different cloud providers utilizing NVIDIA GPUs. Just really, it's really interesting. When you everybody's talking about AI, but you need to see what is the infrastructure where AI is being run, and I don't know, is Microsoft going to be the top here? I don't think so. It's a very saturated market, and personally, now if you look Perplexity, just completely different type of search engine than Google is, and if you want to get like the contextual AI results, use Perplexity, because it will tell you much better than Google will tell you something. So Microsoft, they purchased, they have this Copilot now that's being run on ChatGPT. But the thing is, OpenAI is going to release new models. It's very competitive market. Basically each month there is something new. I mean, each week there is something new, but each month there is something major out there. OpenAI is now coming with we discussed before, art. With Sora AI. This is the video generation, but there is already on the market. We have Pika art, Runway, many different companies. They're already doing video production based on different prompts. So when you talk about search engines, so my personal favorite is Perplexity, as I said. Microsoft not, because only I don't know, like I'm not really a fan of the way the Bing runs. The way I'm getting somehow it's a very complicated user interface. It's not really user friendly for me.
Okay, yeah. So that's interesting. So you think Microsoft might not really be having them to, again, obviously because it's saturated, because a lot's going on, and I think that's a good stance. It's something. that I don't hear a lot about is the cloud side of things. And you're right, if you look at the revenues at some of these companies like Amazon, like the biggest part of the revenue is AWS, is the cloud side. It's the reason why Nvidia has grown to the size it is. It is not just providing GPUs now for gamers.
Right.
Like that was their bread and butter. But the reason their market cap has gone so much isn't because there's been 100x increase in video games. It's the AI. So providing the hardware side, and I think that's very interesting in itself. Is that obviously it was like software is where it's at, and obviously that was the case for many years, and I think it will be going forward still. But there's still a lot of potential in the hardware side, and obviously a lot of those big companies, the Googles, the Microsofts, the Amazons with obviously GCP, Azure, and AWS are
Mhm.
really killing it and taking over. And obviously they all have their cloud stuff. They all have some sort of AI. Obviously Amazon, how you know invested they are and how advanced they are with their AI to be able to, I guess, take on Open AI, and I'm going to link that with Microsoft, and then obviously Google's AI efforts as well. I think that would be interesting to see. Maybe if they, I guess, do some sort of combination partnership with another company, let's say Nvidia, then I feel like they could maybe take it to the next level. But I feel like Nvidia is in that phase, it's that stage where everyone wants their hardware. It's kind of financially beneficial for them just to be open and be like, anyone can buy our stuff instead of being exclusive to one big company.
I agree with you completely. I mean, this is something that's called also the AI wars, chip wars, because the real money is actually out there in technology infrastructure. Yeah,
Oh yeah, so like some of the server systems that I see, like the cost of some of those ones that Nvidia sell to companies, and I'm just like they're just buying like one big unit, one wall, of sorts, and then they're just buying like multiple of them, and like the cost of it, it's like yeah, the companies don't want to be left behind, so they're willing to pay whoever has the best one and whoever can provide it. I guess the quickest, and right now that seems to be Nvidia. It's left Intel in the dust. AMD is still doing all right because obviously their chips are still good for crypto. They're getting pretty decent for AI now. Whereas I feel like Intel just didn't really go anywhere with the crypto and the AI side of it to the
yeah.
point where Nvidia again obviously that's catapulted like crazy, and AMD's catapulting like pretty decent as well.
See, I've been always a big fan of Nvidia. I remember buying their graphical card back in 1994, so I can play Doom, and
What
it's
was the graphics card called then? Which one was it?
I don't remember
Yeah,
anymore what it was, but I know I bought it specifically because I wanted to play Doom with a friend. So we would connect with a modem and we would play against each other like the entire like till 5 in the morning. It's wonderful times when I don't have time now for this anymore to play so much. But I'm a big gamer also. I spend lots of time playing different video games, MMORPGs in the 2000s, and first person shooters and strategy games. So I wish I have more time for everything. Unfortunately, I don't.
You know, when you get older, life, family, that's all. So, and actually, so that segues nicely into the end of the podcast. So, the rapid fire round. What is your favorite? Because obviously, you just revealed that you're a big video gamer, or you used to be. What's your favorite video game, favorite movie, and favorite board game?
The favorite video game is actually Diablo,
Okay,
and this.
original, the first one.
Well, I played all of them. I played all of them, but Diablo 2 was actually my favorite one. This was the one actually that could be modded and where I spent lots of time. And also Warcraft 3. These are all my. I'm a big fan of Blizzard also, so they're my favorite games. I also played a couple of years EverQuest 2. This was like back in 2003, 2004, something like this. I was a clan leader, which was really really fun. My favorite movie is musical The Producers with Will Ferrell. Really funny movie, but already old now. What was the third question?
Favorite board game.
A favorite board game. Let me see. Well, I like to play chess. This is something that when I was a kid, I learned how to play chess, and then it was a big thing actually to play chess. And now I see it's very popular. Now many people play it also online, and here and there actually I squeeze a game of chess also.
Okay. And with a you've got a design agency. One of the questions I would like to ask is, would you rather run a 10-person company or a 1,000-person company, and why? And obviously, I'll link that with running a design agency.
See, I think it's much better to have smaller company because in a smaller company, you have actually a better opportunity to express yourself. In bigger companies, and I worked in different size of companies. In bigger companies, everything is so regulated, and you don't have so much freedom in everything that you would like to do, because you're always depend on somebody else to approve something. In a smaller company, I think it's way easier actually, and you can be much faster and more creative also because you are directing your own work. You come to agreement faster. So this is why we prefer smaller environment.
Okay. And what video game are you looking forward to?
Oh man, it's also a very tough question. Now, I didn't really follow now recently. What's out there. I usually knew everything that's coming on the market, but now I'm just reading something from Paradox. Their strategy games, what's in development. But I don't know. I don't have the answer for this one. What I'm looking for. What's your favorite? What are you looking for? Which one is yours
Oh,
game?
I mean, I'm always looking forward to hopefully a Half Life, but I've been waiting for. I've been waiting. Well, when was episode 2? Was it 08? I want to say. Yeah, I was still in
Yes.
high school, so I've gone through college, university, and I've been out of university for 10 years now. So I'm still. It's been about 1.5 decades. Obviously, we had Half Life Alex. Really enjoyed that, but again, it wasn't like a standalone, experience. So, obviously, it was in VR. Like I'm still holding out hope for that. Every time I know E3, they don't do E3 anymore, but every
Right.
year when E3 would come around or major gaming events, I would always hold out hope that there would be a new, Half Life announced. But I feel like when they announce it, they're just gonna announce it. It's not gonna be a big hoo ha. I feel like they'll just put it on their YouTube page, put it on their website on Valve.com and announce it, and that'll be it. Like every media, every company will just cover it, but I don't think they'll do some big hoo ha announcement, and they'll talk about it. But yeah, so but in terms of, I haven't played Spider-Man 2 yet. I'm looking at it now. I've got it on PS5 just sitting here. I need to get around to playing that. But before that, there's a couple of other things I need to complete. Need to complete the Crisis remastered trilogy, just the third one. I'm nearing the end of that. I've got one or two levels left.
Oh
Dead
wow.
Space. Oof. I mean, there's so many games I need to catch up with as well. But yeah, there are a bunch of good games
I would
coming
like
out
to
as well.
see Team Fortress 3, but I don't think I'm going to see that ever because
Yeah, obviously,
there's
there's a joke. They're not going to
yeah,
do a free of anything. No Half Life free, no Team Fortress free, I
yeah,
guess no Counter Strike free, like nothing, no Portal free, nothing.
right.
I mean, hopefully, I'm holding out hope. But I feel like my kids will probably be at my age when I last played Half Life Episode 2 before it comes out. It's looking like that. So yeah, before we wrap up, a final question, two-parter. What does money buy you happiness, and what does a good life mean to you?
Well, the money never buys happiness. If I were for money, then I wouldn't be doing this. This is for me actually starting a business was the best decision ever because actually I'm doing something that I love. I'm playing by my own terms. I have lots of free time, and this is in quotation because free time is actually the time that I'm enjoying what I'm doing. So basically, when I'm doing work, I see this as my free time because it's really fun. Everything about AI. Just learning about stuff, developing stuff. It's very relaxing, and talking to people, like-minded people. It's really enjoyable. So it's actually something that I really 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 like and I enjoy a lot. So what was the other question? Sorry.
What does a good life mean to you? I
Oh, the
mean, you
good
kind
life.
of answered it, but obviously, just specifically that.
Yeah, well, the good life is actually do what you like. enjoy doing it. I know many people who are frustrated with their lives, and mainly it's because either of work situation, they have a bad boss, or private situation or something. Good life is actually that you have the right balance in life, that you have people that love you, that you have people that you love. You like what you do. This is good life. You have to. I'm a modest person. I like what I'm doing. I'm not chasing after money. I'm just enjoying one day at a time, and it's trying to spend as much time as I can also outdoors. And life is beautiful. You just have to take it easy and slowly. And everything will be good.
Yeah, love that. As I'm getting older, I'm 32 now. Got two kids, one's 2, one's 4 months, and that's something that I'm coming to value more and more. It's like, obviously, you got to work, got to make money. I
Yeah.
want to do more, etc., etc. But then, enjoying this time and enjoying this life, because it's easy to look on social media, or this person who's doing this, or this person is really successful, etc., etc. At least outwardly speaking, and then when you break down the life, it's like they never see the kids, they've had multiple failed marriages, or this or that, and it's just like, how successful are they? There is a sacrifice, and if you do want to have a good, I say, really good life, a good family life, and actually enjoy it, sometimes taking a step back and actually just enjoying life, and just enjoying, let's say, the nature of things, whether that's nature outside or just the nature of life, and appreciating everything that you have and everything that is around you, is really important. And I'd say, when you are enjoying it, like specifically, when you're taking a break or you're doing something of enjoyment, really try and be in that moment. Again, something I've struggled with, like when I go on holiday, like I used to be like work, 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 and it's just like, why am I going on holiday then? Like, try and
Exactly. Yeah.
obviously there's nothing wrong with having your phone, doing a bit of work, catching, checking up on stuff maybe, but like, if you like, why are you wasting money and time going on holiday if you're just going to work anyway? Like, actually utilize that time for what it is. Like the way you utilize your work time, you utilize a call that you have with a client for 15 minutes, utilize that, like see it as that, like see, okay, I've penciled this in for a week, I'm utilizing it for fun, or whatever you want to get out of it.
Right. It's really important to have the right balance and everything. So if you're on vacation, be on vacation, enjoy your vacation, forget about work. I hate when people go vacation. I had a friend going for sailing, bringing computers and everything. Then you just spend the whole day working in different environments. What's the point? That's not really vacation. So yeah,
Yeah, know what I mean. So yeah, I want to appreciate you, Tom, for coming on to the podcast today, and I want to thank everyone for tuning into this episode with Tom Vazdar as well. So Tom, thank you.
thank you for the opportunity.
No problem. See you everyone in next week's episode of FireDEV. Bye bye.